All right, welcome everybody. Happy Friday. Thanks for taking time out of your day to join us for this first impressions presentation in our community vision planning. So appreciate you being here. We want to be respectful of everyone's time. We know it's in the middle of the workday, so we'll get things rolling and move through the agenda pretty quick. So Nicole Sedlacek with Nebraska Public Power District is our facilitator for these conversations. So thank you, Nicole, for being here. Do you want to share a little bit about our agenda?
Sure, yes. Thank you, Mary. I'm Nicole Sedlacek with Nebraska Public Power District. Happy to be with you virtually today as we talk about first impressions. And we have a great lineup of speakers. So we have Jennifer McKeone, who's going to talk about why first impressions are important. And then we're also going to hear from some local partners on the call today, sharing updates of what's already ongoing in regards to first impressions in Heath County. After we kind of hear some of that and understand what's going on, I'm going to ask you to really kind of turn on your dream switch and think about what's different in 5 years. And so it'll be your chance to really kind of dream about the future 5 years out in Heath County. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Mary.
Awesome, thank you. We have a special guest with us today, Jen McKeone with Cozad Development Corporation, to share a little bit about the importance of first impressions in a community. Jen has been in economic development for 20 years, we decided earlier today. She's been a mentor to me over the last 11 years. So very much appreciate the knowledge that she brings to the table. And Jen, the floor is yours.
Well, hi guys. Thanks for inviting me to speak. This is a little more intimidating than standing up in front of a group, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about why first impressions are important to me. I had a recruitment project that I thought was going really well. They were interested in an existing building here in town, and we were well on the road to, I thought, getting them signed to move to town. And when they brought in the next level of executives, they kind of gave me a slap in the face, and they said, we are going to choose another community because your community just doesn't show well. They said, we work with a lot of Fortune 500 companies. We're going to be bringing CEOs in, and it's not that your town is small, it's that your town just doesn't have any curb appeal. And so we don't want that to be a negative reflection of our business. And so I was a little devastated, but I guess I appreciated the fact that they were candid with me about why they did not choose Cozad. So after that happened, I called Mary and asked her to jump down a rabbit hole with me. We created something called a First Impressions Project, and she assembled a group of people, and I gathered a group of people from here in Cozad, and we just looked at each other's communities as strangers and decided, let's approach this as if we were moving to Ogallala, and the Ogallala people said, you know, if we were moving to Cozad, what would we be looking for? And so the first thing we looked at were the websites and the web presence. And could we find the information that we needed if we were going to locate a business in Ogallala, if we were going to move our family to Ogallala? And so what we learned, and I'm not pointing fingers at you, but these are the things that we learned from this project, is that people kind of expect the community websites to all have kind of a similar theme, a brand, kind of have the same type of feel to them. And that's something that we need to work on here in Cozad. The other thing that I guess I want to emphasize as we move forward with redoing our website is that you want it to be unique. And I think Janet 80 and Nicole and Brian and Mary will know who that is as a site selector. And she was the one that kind of brought this up one time when we were listening. She said, do not use, it's a great place to work, live, and play. because every single community is using that. And so I Googled that just before our call, and I Googled community work, live and play, and I got 4.6 billion results. So that means every country in the world thinks that they're a good place to live, work, and play. So we need to do something that shows that we're different and that we can stand out. The other thing that we learned from our project was that we needed to think of the entrance to our community kind of as our front porch. And so I'm sure all of you can think of a house in town that just has great curb appeal. And then you can probably think of another one that you wouldn't let your kids go trick-or-treating at. And our entrance to town was probably the latter. It was one of those that you would probably want to steer your kids away from. And so we have taken it upon ourselves to create a new entrance sign right when you get off the interstate. We got some grants from UNL for landscaping and new trees, and so we're working on that. If we're going to use the analogy of the entrance as your front porch, I'm going to carry that further and think of the downtown as your living room. You want to invite all of your friends. You want people to stay, to be comfortable. You want to show off your arts and culture and just, you know, all of your decorating tools. And so one of the things that we did in Cozad that was probably one of the biggest hits was we got these they were 6 foot tall art palettes, and we had 20 of them. We commissioned 20 artists to paint these. We put them in different locations all over town. And oh my gosh, it generated so much community pride. So many people stopped me and said how much they enjoyed going around town with their family, looking at all of these different things. And anytime that they had company, they would take them around and show them these 20 art palettes. And I thought, what a great marketing tool that we have our local residents that are showing off 20 locations in our city to their friends and family from out of town. And so that project ended up costing us nothing in the end. I mean, we ended up coming up with a little bit of money at first, but we ended up making a little bit of money off of it. But it was the greatest marketing tool for our own community that we could have accomplished. And so, you know, you just have to think about everything in your downtown or just all those iconic places in your community. We're in a selfie world, if you haven't noticed. Everybody wants to do a selfie, and they're looking for places that are unique, that are colorful, that are fun. And so if you don't have those iconic places that are fun and unique and that somebody wants to take a selfie in, you're missing out on a huge opportunity, because that is free marketing for you. If somebody is taking a picture of themselves in front of a sign that says Ogallala or Boot Hill or whatever it is, you want to make sure that whatever message that you want out there in the world that somebody's going to help you portray, that it's going to be looked upon favorably. So if it's a mural or a sign, and you want to make sure that whenever it goes out there in the selfie world on Facebook and Instagram and whatever else everybody's doing these days, I'm not on all of that, but that it's giving you a great image. And then I also want to just emphasize to you guys as you start your planning process to not underestimate the power of these little projects that you're doing that create these first impressions. I know as leaders, we are looking at the big picture, and sometimes these things, these little things just do not seem important. And if I put it in perspective, last year, when you get off the interstate in Cozad, CDC owns a site that we spent $750,000 on doing water, sewer, and streets. I did not have one person in the community come up to me and say, hey, thanks for investing in our community and doing things to make Cozad more business ready or to help to recruit industry. But across the street where we put that welcome sign, we spent $11,000, and everywhere I go, people are stopping me and thanking me for making that improvement, for doing that for Cozad. It made the front page of the paper. It got people's attention, and it gives them just that little bit more sense of community and community pride. And don't underestimate the value of that, because our local residents here are our greatest marketing tool. They're the ones that are trying to get their kids to move back. They're trying to, I mean, they're our silent partners, and sometimes we forget that. That icon project was just something that it took a lot of time, but was so much worth it in the end. And I want you to think about it as like your family when you're buying things for your kids. So we're all doing our budgets, and we have to buy the things for our kids that they absolutely need. We have to give them clothes and food and books and stuff for school, but make sure you're putting a little bit in the budget for fun things, because we all need that little bit of fun. We all need that splash of color, that thing that makes us happy and brings us joy. And so all the things that you can do with creative placemaking and first impressions, remember how important that is to the rest of the community, even though it might not seem like it should be a high priority for our organizations when we're looking at the bigger picture. And I think that's about all I have for you guys today.
Do you want me to share your pictures? We didn't do that.
Oh, we can, yeah. Were you gonna do that for me, Mary, or?
Yep. I think I've got it. We won't start there.
Yeah, so if, you know, we're right here on I-80, we get so much traffic off the interstate. And so I think we forgot how important it is, the first impression of all these people that don't know anything about us. And if you don't know anything about us, we lost our largest employer in 2011. And it was a 315,000 square foot building, which ended up changing hands a couple times, and somebody knocked down the building. The current owner of the site tore it down, and they left it like this. So when I'm saying how the first impression of our community is important and how we lost an industry because of it, imagine what this looked like on our main corridor coming into town. So I mean, it might have sounded harsh that they said your community doesn't show well, but if you look at this rubble, you'll know why they said that. And so that was about the time. So it looks a little bit better than this now. We're still working on it. This is our new welcome sign. And like I said, we got a grant from UNL. If anybody, I don't know if Ogallala's, have you ever gotten that Greener Places grant program? They said that they would be bringing out some plants, and I got some of my board members to help plant. I didn't realize they dropped off 500 plants. And so, and it had to have been like the hottest day too to plant them, but it really does look nice now, and we're proud of that location. And then let's see, what else did I bring? Oh, another thing that we have done around town is we had a little gal that she was 3 years old. She passed away last year. She had some seizures and ended up having one in her sleep and passed away. And her parents did a project called Rakenna's Wings. And so I think we've got 25 sets of wings around town. And like I said, we're a selfie world. And so that's me out in front of my office building with our wings. That was the picture to the right is my intern that helped with the First Impressions program when she was here. And those are some wings that are at our swimming pool. And so we have wings in our parks and in our alleys and just all over town. And it's another fun thing that that we've done that people really enjoy. And then I can't remember what else another thing that's fun and that it's not my thing, but I always say barn quilts and Cozad are kind of like the trapper keepers of the 80s. If you don't have one, you're not one of the cool kids. And so every building and business in the community has a barn quilt. And this actually, I think I got this picture off in Nebraska through the lens that somebody had put out there of a barn that's just right outside of town. And so that's another thing that people enjoy. And my God, we have bus tours. You would not believe the people that come to see our barn quilt tour. And it's another sense of community pride. And it's another, like I said, selfie moment. It's just something that's fun and cool that really doesn't cost a lot of money. Okay, Mary, next. I know you guys do something similar, and I mentioned making your downtown like your living room. One of the things that we're doing is called Music Mondays. And so we have food trucks and bands on Monday nights. I'd seen on Facebook one time, there was just a whole slew of people that got on a rampage that all of our restaurants are closed on Monday nights. There's nowhere to eat. And God forbid these people would have to cook for themselves. So we decided we would create an event where we'd bring in food trucks and different fundraisers that sells walking tacos, all that stuff, and have live music from 6 to 8. And people absolutely love it. And so it's just another way to get people downtown and sense of community pride. And then I want to challenge you guys when you're thinking to just make sure that, first impressions, like I said, barn quilts are not my thing, but anything that can be quirky and fun, people love. And so this is an example of a community. It's Marysville, Kansas. And they have black squirrels within their community. And so their icon, like ours were giant art palettes, are these giant black squirrels that they have all over town. I don't know if anybody's been to Marysville, Kansas, but they're really fun. They have one that's dressed that looks like a baseball player, one that looks like a dentist and all this. But not only did they have these black squirrels all over town, remember during the eclipse in 2017, they put giant eclipse glasses on all of these silly black squirrels. And, it made the news, it made the papers. It's something fun, something different, something quirky. And again, people love it. And so I just dare you to be different and fun and quirky because it is something refreshing. And again, like I said, murals, people want to take, this is me and my little intern again, this is at UNL Food Center, just anything different is where those picture perfect moments are. And so make sure that your hashtag and your murals and your stuff is all photo ready, I guess is what I want to say. So does anybody have any questions for me before I log off?
Jen, I have a question.
All right, Mary.
I do. Did you guys come up with a common theme for your city economic development websites? Who is Cozad? What is Cozad? Have you guys done that? And what did that process look like?
No, but we're in the process of, we have a new city administrator now. And so we are in the process of doing that right now. And as some people might know, I don't know, I invite you all to Cozad if you haven't been here. Come check us out, call me up, I'll take you around. We have the Robert Henry Museum, and he was a famous artist. And we have the world's largest collection of Robert Henry paintings, and it doesn't mean a lot to some people in Nebraska, but if you go on the East Coast, I had a friend that was in New York City, and their banners on their light poles were all Robert Henry paintings when she was there. And so he really is kind of a big deal. But so we've been trying to capitalize on that whole art theme, and we have 2 local art clubs here. We have some other famous artists from Cozad. We have an artist in residence that comes every month and does their art show at the Henry Museum, and you can go and watch them do some painting and different types of mediums in art. And so so that's something that we're trying to play up a little bit more. And I know when we had our First Impressions project, the people from Ogallala that came here said that that was something that we should try to capitalize on more than what we were doing, was that art theme. So that's what we've been trying to do, and that's why we did the art palettes downtown, and so we're just starting to develop that.
Any other questions?
Yes, this is Tina DeVoe. I was wondering, all of your art palettes around town, are they all the butterflies, or is that a separate project?
That's a separate project. I don't know if I didn't include a picture of the art palette, I guess. The butterflies are, that's a project called Rakenna's Wings, and they're on the sides of businesses. The art palettes are more freestanding. And I'm trying to think if anybody's been to, remember the Hearts in downtown Lincoln, or the Cranes in Kearney. Some towns have done it. York did the water towers. Nebraska City did trees. And so we decided we were going to do the art palettes. It was crazy because as we were researching that and trying to figure out where you get a giant art palette or a giant black squirrel, you know, that kind of thing, we found out that the company that makes those icons for all of the different cities in the United States that does it is located like in Gibbon, Nebraska. And so it was considerably cheaper for us to do that project than if you know, they do like Clearwater, Florida and all of those because of the shipping. So Icon Poly was the name of the company, and they're great partners to work with.
Any other questions for Jen? Thank you, Jen. Always so informative and inspirational. We are definitely in a selfie world. Like, I paid money to go to a selfie museum and to have my kids take pictures all over the place. And that's actually what's behind me. It's those pictures on the wall as we visited this selfie museum. So it was kind of a crazy, crazy experience, but that's what people are after. And anytime.
They say millennials are more interested in going to cultural events to document that they were there than the actual cultural event itself. So kind of crazy.
It is, but I believe it. Yes. All right. Thank you,
Thank you, Jen.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. All right. Next on our agenda, we are going to hear from Mary, who's going to give a first impressions update and share some information that way.
I'm going to be real quick here. So Jen shared about the First Impressions project that we did several years ago. So I'm going to skip through these slides really quick. And we're going to talk about the Downtown Revitalization Plan that was done in 2011 by RDG. This was before my time here at KCAD, and I know that there's several people on the call that were involved with this, so if there's any context to add, please do so. I wanted to share a little bit about this plan just to let everybody know that there is something out there. There's been market research done, there's been a concept put into place. The question is this relevant now? How can we take this information that we have? Obviously some things have changed. We haven't followed this plan, but how can we use this as a starting point if we're looking at developing a 5-year improvement plan for first impressions. So just real quick, this is what the concepts look like for the downtown corridor in Ogallala. Again, this is focused, this was focused in just Ogallala, but any of these projects can be replicated in our other Keith County communities, Paxton, Rural, even out of the lake possibly as well. So keep that in mind, but this is the information that we have in our office. So they focus on a west downtown, downtown core area, and an east connection area for improvements. Really focusing on public art pieces, the planter, boxes, trees, planter baskets, things, all things that we have currently, but this is focused on a much broader scope than just in what we call the downtown area. Downtown core, looking at some of these possible projects. We've got more annual parking coming in. We've got pedestrian, number 12, the alleyway connections that's connecting all of these downtown districts together for that core area. Here's the visual pieces. This is, I look at these pictures and see the trees, more planters in our down on Spruce Street, outside areas for people, you know, provide a landing spot. Again, this was done in 2011. Next, there we go. They emphasize improvements to awnings. You know, how can we come up with a cohesive design plan for this downtown core area? Signage, window displays, and our upper story living opportunities potentially in that downtown core area. We've got our entrance corridor here. You're looking at the viaduct, the bottom of the viaduct coming in, talking about doing some sort of a canopy facade improvement project down there with a gateway signage project possibly. There's some examples there. Here's some concept design. They even suggested City Hall relocate to the New Hope building, which Bruce, we know that there's been improvements done at City Hall. I'm just throwing out these ideas, right? This is a dream big study that was done that hopefully can encourage us to continue to do that. We know this east connection area looks different. There's a Dollar General and O'Reilly's Auto Parts in the block where that green space is. So this looks different, but we can still take these concept ideas and design around. I love how Jen said, you know, you've got iconic buildings. You want to be different. You want to set yourself apart. And I know that this building is not here anymore. It was gone before I came to town, but I've heard so many good things about it. And what, you know, how can we capitalize on those existing structures that we have here to set ourselves apart, capitalize on that historic opportunity here. This is the west area. So currently, this is the current senior center. I loved this concept that they put together. They were proposing this as the new library site, turning this building into a youth center, getting some more retail development down here close to the railroad. Just some unique ideas, right? Thinking outside the box. There's another angle of what that might look like. This was a disclaimer that they had in their plan. We know that it's going to change over time. Some projects may advance and opportunities will change as other demands open up, right? But we keep dreaming big, we keep moving forward. And so turning it over to everybody on this call, what impression do you envision here in Keith County is, I think, one of the questions that I would like everybody to keep in the back of their minds. But that's all I have. I know we're running a little quick, but does anybody have any questions?
I'd like to say something. This is Sue. Can you hear me?
We can, yes.
Okay. I think I've spent years working on different committees for this, and I think this is a wonderful concept. One thing I think is very important is signage on East A that tells where the downtown is. I think a lot of people just go down the viaduct and out to the lake and don't stop to think, you know, here's downtown, let's go see what it's like. I don't know what that signage would look like, but I think it's very important. And I think another thing that could be done fairly quickly is that alleyway that's between Ben Franklin and can't think right now, that there's a concept for it to be decorated and with murals and make it a seating area. I think that that's a would be an easy project to start.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Sue. We'll bring that project up again for later on in our agenda. All right, so we have some additional speakers to provide some updates in regards to first impressions. Is CJ with West Central Development District on the call?
She is not on, Nicole.
Okay, how about Carla Scott with the Entertainment District?
Can you hear me?
We can, yes.
So it'll be very brief. We started the thought not knowing that time had been put in the past. I think that's one of the repeated messages we're hearing here. Great people have started things and new people aren't aware. But as our downtown area in Ogallala, I feel, is just really blossomed. And the opening of Driftwood, as we started to plan for Sounds on the Square, before we knew about Mr. COVID and Rendezvous, the thought was all of a sudden now we're doing just the opposite of what a chamber's role is. And I felt like we were competing against our businesses. During those events, we offer beer, and that is a lot of where we do fundraising and helps us to carry on the events year over year. So pulled a committee together from our chamber board, and it's the committee called the Development Committee, and Sally Haythorne, Brittany Harden, and myself are on that. And our goal was to try and see if we could get it approved by Rendezvous, but COVID just kept bouncing us back and forth, and the thought was to make an established area downtown that we could have it titled and approved as an entertainment district. We were so excited when Bruce Smith and Jane Skinner were open to meeting with us. We held a few meetings, and then we all agreed to pick it back up after Rendezvous. We've been working with the businesses to see their thoughts, and so it is a work in progress, and that's about it, unless any of you have any other comments.
Can you explain what the entertainment district would entail? What does that mean?
Sure. And that's still to be defined and approved by the City Council. Part of the thoughts is listening to the concerns of shutting down Spruce, which is a main artery to a traffic flow. So we are currently working off of the idea that it would be established for 10 activities through a calendar 12-month year. And once again, we're still talking. I've been in touch with our state liquor department, and they have referred me to other communities that have done this. And so that is what we're working off of right now, that 10 times a calendar year that we will open up this as an entertainment district. And we as a committee are still trying to define how that will be, because there's got to be the controls of fencing and everything. And then we need to take that back to the city. So it still is in the planning stages.
Great, thank you, Carla.
You're welcome.
All right, next on our agenda is Kelly or Jeremy Smith from Driftwood. Is it Jeremy who's maybe going to give the update? Or Kelly?
We can go to the next person, Nicole, and I'll check with them, okay?
Okay, that sounds good. All right, next on my list, I have Bruce Smith. Bruce, would you want to provide an update, please?
Oh, I don't have much to provide. I've got a council members here online that maybe they can talk a little bit about it, but yeah, I agree that what people see when they drive into your community means a lot. And we are working with a business person about the mural there when you come down the overpass, and I think there's some discussions going on about that and how to fund a new mural there. But we've had Tomas England, he's gone out and cleaned up around a couple of the signs, but we're missing signs too. We don't have a sign at every entrance, and I think that's something we need to look at. But we did the downtown revitalization in 2013 and did the bump outs like the consultant said, and did some different things. It's always nice to say you're going to put a lot of trees out, but they're pretty hard, treescaping and downtown trees, and how you're going to get them watered and different things like that. So we're all for driving, or I'm sorry, I just got a text from Deb. Hi, Deb. Anyway, that was kind of the idea, was some water. And then when that project got going, they tried to save a little bit of money, so they pulled out some of the watering of the planters and things. But in the last few years, we've hired Tomas England to take care of the planters downtown and try to keep the downtown looking nice. And obviously our downtown's changed a lot in the last 3 years with Driftwood and the eye doctors down there. I mean, it's beautiful now and it's active all the time. And so our feeling, my feeling, and Daryl can jump in, is we just want to be a partner in what things that the community wants to do to try to make our place look better. And we've done 5 years worth of nuisance abatement cleanup, trying to get people to clean up their yards and their businesses and things like that. And that's always not an easy thing to do. You make people upset because what one man's trash is another man's treasure. And so, but the council's been very active in that and trying to get people to think about how things look and how we look to people that come into our community. So I think we've taken a lot of steps forward, but there's a lot more room for improvement. And I think this, as a city, we just want to be partners.
Great, thank you, Bruce. Any questions for Bruce right now? Okay. How about Chris Vale with the Keep Keith County Beautiful and Wayfinding efforts?
Hi. There's a number of things that the community has done over the many years that I've been involved in this community. So it's been going on about 10 years. I've seen that grant that you just talked about with the community development from 2011 was a part, Brenda Ketchum actually wrote part of that grant with Drew Crabb and Bruce Smith and Travis Haggard. So it has been, it's something we've been talking about for some time. And one of the things when Mary first came out with her First Impressions idea, the chamber took some people and said, hey, let's sit down and see how we can answer this. And one of the things we came back with is the terminology wayfinding. In most major tourist cities, which we are, a tourist city, they have very good signage around. And I went to some of the cities like Aspen and Vail, and I lived in Vail for 8 years. I am a Vail, so I'm very familiar with the tourist ideas. And so I consulted with a consulting firm down in Denver, actually in Lakewood, that had done a number of the tourist areas. And so we started working with this whole program to develop an idea. And we came along with some pretty good things. And one of the goals was basically to design a system that was cohesive, that every bit of what we already had could go into it. But like what Sue said just a few minutes ago, you come down A Street and you don't even know Spruce Street exists if you're coming into town. So I kind of thought that that would be a really good idea if we could do some better signage. We could also assist the visitors in navigating through our town, because it is somewhat confusing. If you come into downtown, you're like heading towards the lake, and all of a sudden you're going to make a sharp left-hand turn, and then you don't have to stop and make that right-hand turn. So there is some confusion. I think we could make it very simplistic. We've also consulted with the highway department, because any kind of signage has to go through the Department of Roads and has to have approval. And so I've spoken with the people in North Platte about this. And there's signage that are both not only state, federal, but local too. So there's a lot of intergovernmental agencies that have to work on any kind of wayfinding. But the bottom line would be to coordinate our overall efforts and make it simple, keep it simple, and make it pretty. When you look at some of these places like that earlier where Mary showed the sign that had the gateway, I would love to see a gateway sign as you come down the with a mural, and then it says Gateway to Lake McConaughey, or even Gateway to the Sandhills. I mean, there's a lot of things that we have to promote here. So I would just like to say that this has been done. If you would like our work that we've already done, we're more than happy to give it to you guys and share it with you. I do feel that we do a lot of things in this community and we repeat them. So rather than repeating and recurring existing work, let's build on what we've already done, because that 2011 thing really, really did create Rendezvous Square. And that has been a wonderful asset to our downtown area. So if I can help in any way, I'm more than willing to, as is Rod Ruzanik, who's also on this committee, and Carla Scott. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chris. How about next we go to Brian Bassa with the CRA to provide an update.
Thank you, Nicole. Most of you were on the call on Wednesday, so I'll just a real brief introduction in regard to the Ogallala Community Redevelopment Authority. It was created by the City Council in 1996. We typically have about 25 active projects. Wednesday was more focused on housing, so I'm going to not go into those details and just talk about some of the commercial projects that we've done. And the CRA was created to help with blighted areas. And back in 1997, just shortly after it was formed, we had our first projects doing facade and the Fuller building on the corner of Ray Road and South Spruce. That building has been occupied and doing great business down there, and it still shows how valuable those improvements were to the community. It does appear nice. As you go up the street now, you see more improvements that we help participate in with Jeremy and Driftwood and the Eye Care Insight. You know, we do have it within our realm of funding that we can help with facade improvements to make those more attractive and more energy efficient. If you kind of look at the bigger things, you know, we had 3 hotels less than 10 years ago in town that were all in need of demolishing, and you know, thanks to the cooperation with the city, county, and our CRA board, we were able to demolish those buildings and take away some of those eyesores that everybody complained about 10 years ago. Now they're either new commercial businesses with Dollar General and O'Reilly, or they're a new daycare building that Doug Davis put up, housing. I think there's about 6 total houses on 2 different lots, along with another commercial building. And as you drive past those today, you do see that there's been efforts, you know, made to try to improve, because those were all definitely on the highway. So when you drove in town, you could certainly see those. The one that seems to come up more commonly now, and you know, I'd like to say that we're going to work on it and get it done immediately, but it's been kind of slow, And the comments are on the interchange. There is still the lot to the east of Walmart. But as you noticed in the last 30 days, the trees have been cleaned up. And that is a partnership with the CRA and the developer to try to get some of that done and make it a little more improvement on it. We are optimistic that by the end of the year, we will partner again with the developer to remove the gas station that seems to come up on a regular basis. About one of the things they see in Ogallala when you pull into town is a gas station that's been abandoned for over 20 years. So we hope to work with the developer to take that down, and also another possible building that they're interested in removing and actually improving the areas. And one last one I want to leave with as far as things we do. This isn't CRA, but as far as my employer, Nebraska Public Power District, we bought a building that was on the highway coming into town. And I'll guarantee you, when we went through the building design, one of the things we wanted to make sure was that when you pulled into town, you're going to see our building. We didn't want it to have the farm store look anymore. We want it to look like a building that is a reputable provider of energy to the city of Ogallala, make it attractive, and do it on a budget that we know we could do. And I'm proud to say that when you pull over there, we have a lot of compliments about just our business. And I think that in itself, to a business, to have somebody come up and say, your building looks great, I wish we had more of those that would happen. So the more of us that get together to do more of these projects, I think we'll have more of that. And I compliment everybody on the video today of the parts that you're playing to make our community more attractive.
Great, thank you, Brian. Lots of great things happening and going on. All right, can we go back to Jeremy or Kelly Smith with Driftwood? Do we have one of them on?
They're here, but they're having technical difficulties. Oh, are you there, Kelly?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yep. Yes, go for it.
Okay. Well, I really wasn't expecting to talk, so I'm not sure what. Mary, am I just supposed to update on Driftwood, or?
Yeah, talk about the importance of downtown, facade improvement downtown.
Okay. Well, when this first all came about, we were approached by Mary. I think Jeremy and TJ were more approached, but they took on this project to, make our downtown something that people want to come to, improve the looks of our downtown, kind of an event place for people that get excited about, I don't know, just being from Ogallala and then moving back here. You definitely want it a place where you're proud of, and a place that you can go and enjoy and the rest of the town can be proud of. And I just think when we first came up with the concept, we were trying to make, basically take an old storage building or the old True Value building and make that something. It's a big area, so something that could be used for everyone. And, we tried to incorporate a new restaurant down there, a fun entertainment area, and bring different types of entertainment to town for people to get out and have some things to do in town, especially for everyone. We're trying to, continue to have things coming in for all ages. And I just think, having that downtown has really brought a lot of people to our downtown. We were part of the Nebraska Passport program this year. We applied for that, and having that, being part of that, we had over probably 500 guests each month that signed our book that came in to Driftwood throughout the state. So they're not from Ogallala. Most of them are not from Ogallala, but most of them are from all over Nebraska. And they come and they just came down and, checked it out. And if they came down in their passport holder, they got a free pint glass that said Driftwood on it. But I think, having that, and then they would tell us how much they loved our downtown and the cute little shops down here. They had no idea. So I just think, having more of that in our town would just make it flourish and make it more appealing for, I would think, people to move back here. We're always looking or hoping, you know, people move their kids back, and we move back just because of our families. And so we're just trying to make it a great place and something that everybody can be proud of and say, you know, and then help all of our businesses work together downtown to come up with other ideas of, you know, basically how we can all do it together. And then like the entertainment district and all that, working together would bring a ton of people, I think, to town, have certain events and stuff. So I hope that's what I was supposed to talk about.
You did wonderful.
Yes, you did great.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So we've heard from a lot of you, and there's a lot of great things already happening. Everything from the CRA to an engaged city who wants to become partners on everything. So a lot of really great things are happening in Ogallala and Keith County. And I think Jen sharing her experience too about losing a recruitment project because of some first impressions of a community. A couple years ago, I was in a community and that a city council member said, you know, people used to choose communities based on the jobs that were available there. Now people are choosing communities based on quality of life and kind of that look and that feel of that community. And that was pre-COVID. So now that we're like experiencing COVID and we might have this great opportunity for, you know, places like Greater Nebraska to really kind of attract people to their community. But as you think out 5 years, what do you want to see and what's different in the next 5 years in Keith County? So I know Sue mentioned kind of an easy project of really that alleyway near Ben Franklin. It has a really great concept for it to be decorated with murals and a seating area. She had shared that idea. Chris also, you know, shared better signage and really building upon what we've already done over the years. But what are some other ideas? And please feel free to open up your mic, or if you feel also more comfortable putting it in the chat box. But we want to hear from you. When you look out 5 years, what's different in Keith County?
I'll go first. This is Tina. I really, you know, I think Jeremy and Kelly have done a really good job with Driftwood downtown. I think they're on the right track for sure. The mural, I love the mural on the back of the building. Now, I would love to see that extended on Railroad Street. I would love to see a very large mural on one of the grain elevators that you can see from the interstate. I think that you want to draw people in to Ogallala, and I think that's a good way to do that. If we had a large mural, at least on one of those grain elevators, I would love to see murals all, you know, down the alleyways, downtown. If any of the business owners want to put one on their building, I think it's great. Like you see, anytime you take vacation and you go somewhere, you're always taking a picture in front of a mural. I'm sorry, but everybody's vacation pictures are always in front of a mural or on some sort of sculpture, statue, something. I think we'd be on the right track with that. I just think that we need a little more art. I mean, I'm not real involved in the art community here, but I love art. I think it's a really good opportunity for Ogallala. Do your own research on what that's done for the communities that have done it. You know, when you have over, 20 murals in a town, it makes a difference. You're pulling people in. I think we've done a lot to get people to come to our lake, but I don't think we've done enough for people to come downtown. So I think that's just one more thing that would really enhance our community. I definitely think the signage, I think we can do a little bit more on the interchange as you're coming in, some landscaping coming up, the viaduct. I definitely think there's opportunity to do that. I'm saddened. I have a friend that moved away from here and came back and just drove all around town, and she just thought that our town is really run down. And so I'm saddened to hear that was her opinion. I definitely think we should keep working on businesses, community projects. I think we need to think outside the box. I do cover, I have other interests. I'm a mid-century person, so that's one thing I really wanted, Lazy K, the bowling alley, Paradise Motel, and then one across the street. I would love to see it brought back to its glory. That's something that people do travel around and have interest in, staying at those older hotels, motels. But that's definitely something that I'm interested in. I think there's room for tourism there, but I'm still working on the courthouse, obviously, trying to get that project to come to fruition. We're just slow. It's been a slow process for our building here, but I'd really like to update our building here and just make it more visually appealing to the public. But that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Tina, for sharing. In the chat box, we have Pete, who says in 5 years that he wants to see empty buildings will become utilized and neglected residential properties will be improved. Other
idea.
Oh, go ahead, yeah.
This is Lisa at KCAD. I would love to see scattered around downtown and in other areas of the city, places where you can get your takeout and sit down at a picnic table or a park bench and have, just a little bit of green space in different places, whether you consider them micro parks or whatever, but kind of expanding on the planter boxes that we have downtown, but just a place where you can sit down with your kids. They can maybe climb over a piece of art that's also, part playground equipment, or have just a little bit of an area where they can play, where it's clean and safe, and you can sit down and eat a meal, maybe enjoy some shade under a shade tree. So building on what we've already done with the planter boxes, I'd love to see more downtown.
Thank you, Lisa. Other ideas and other dreams?
This is Sue. I think an area that could really use improvement is the senior center. I think that parking lot and could be improved, and the building, landscaping around the building, make it more of a pleasing place for, actually, I think it should be made into more of an activity center to where it's all ages. So I'd like to see something done with that within 5 years.
Thank you, Sue. In the chat, we have from Joe, what about a historic memorial with a small walkway around the lot to the east of Walmart? Also, the vacant commercial buildings or commercial buildings used for personal purposes would improve the curb appeal of the city if they were used for commercial purposes. What are we doing to get businesses in those locations?
I'll respond to that real quick. I'll give you a broad answer, Joe. We have inventory of those larger commercial spaces that we are marketing on our Location One information system site. We work closely with the city and the Department of Economic Development to answer any questions. Also Nebraska Public Power District, the local CRA, to find a good fit for those facilities. So the larger ones, for example, the Old Bombers building and the Sunmark building, they are listed with separate realtors, right? They have their own listing agency, but we work closely with them. We help give tours of those buildings and connect them to some resources. There have been several offers put in on those locations. They have not gone through yet. There's some things that are holding those up, but those are the efforts that our office is doing for those locations.
Thank you, Mary. We also have from the chat, Richard, he drives west from the viaduct daily, and the first tree is in the best plumbing parking lot. There's a lot of concrete and asphalt. So could it be maybe adding more kind of greenery, more trees and landscaping in that area?
It's anywhere along Highway 30. It's from the light at the watering hole, it's all concrete and asphalt past every building, all the way till, and the random tree and best plumbing is just one that just happens to be there. It's not like they planned it there; it just happens to be growing there. There's no greenery at all along the highway. It's all asphalt and concrete. It's not very attractive to drive along the highway. Going east past like O'Reilly and Dollar General. Dollar General at least has grass in front of their parking lot, but most of the businesses along there are all asphalt and concrete as well. It's just not very inviting. Like everyone talks about Spruce Street and downtown, and that's important, but the highways equally get a lot of traffic on the highway. And if all they see is asphalt and concrete, why would they want to turn in off of one of those off the highway onto our downtown street if it doesn't look very attractive on the highway in the first place?
Great. Thank you.
I want to respond to you, Richard. All valid points, right? More greenery, but as Bruce said, how do we manage that, right? So if we have this vision of more trees, more green spaces, then we need to follow that up with, or how are we creating a position to manage all of those too, right? We have to think about all of that too. So absolutely, I agree.
Does the city have the availability to hire another position for like one maintenance that does all of like, say planter boxes, trees, micro parks, mini parks, whatever they are? Is there a position like that already established, or is it just all by volunteer right now?
Bruce, I'll let you take that one.
Sure. We hire a part-time person in the summertime to take care of the parking lots and all the greenery downtown, but our parks people take care of the rest of it. And, you know, we've got, I don't know how many acres of parks that they have to take care of. So adding more to that department in the summertime is pretty hard to do. And if we had another position just for that, it'd be pretty hard. But we just added, like I said, we added the part-time just for the downtown a couple of years ago, added that cost. But it's getting water and everything like that. But I think Barb was going to say something, Jeffrey. She's on the tree board, so I'd let her talk a little bit about trees.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we bring up at every meeting is just how to get more trees in Ogallala and how to take care of some of the dead trees that are here. And so a couple of programs that are going right now is the NRD has a rebate program. And so you can plant up to two trees and get a $50 rebate for each of those trees. And then there's also a honorarium brochure that we've put out that you can plant a tree in someone's honor or memory, and we can put it in the city park. So those are just a couple of ways to try to promote some more trees. But also Carla and Chris are going to be working on a grant that hopefully we can get some money to help assist people in town with maybe taking care of some of the dead trees and some of the trees that are unsafe and broken branches and things. And so it's in the talking stage right now. We're just trying to figure out how, where to pursue that and how to get something going like that where we can try to get some more trees. And we've also talked about the trees, the lack of trees along Highway 30 and, feel that that's something really important as well. So.
Does it fall on any of the businesses to try and, is there anyone that talks to them to say, hey, encourage them to put trees on their property, not just on like city or highway? Because if each business put one tree up, you'd have 20 trees along the highway that they would take care of as part of their business.
I don't know if that would be something that the tree board would maybe talk about, or if that's more of a city thing. I'm not really sure, but that we'll bring that up at the next meeting.
That's a tree board thing, Barb, for sure.
Okay. Thanks, Bruce.
I think one problem with maybe some of the business owners is that they don't want to be responsible for watering and maintaining those little boxes at their corner. So I think that's maybe one of the problems. I did talk to one business owner where they did complain about, yeah, they want to put all these planter boxes downtown, but then they don't have a system to water. And I think you addressed that too, but I think maybe that's might be some of the problem.
Joseph, I know you're waiting patiently, but I want to throw something in here. I wish Jen was still on the call to share this, but Cozad, something that they do for certain businesses, I don't want to say just downtown businesses, I think it's the downtown and corridor businesses. There's an extra $5 charge that's added to their water and electric bill every month that goes to the city of Cozad. And that money is used to maintain flowers downtown, maintain landscape. It's non-negotiable, it's added every month, and then they don't have to, they as business owners don't have to worry about that maintenance. Just an idea.
All right, thank you. And Chris has put in the chat that she believes the tree board is working on a watering wagon. So I'm hearing some themes of art and greenery and trees and adding signage and really utilizing existing buildings and even residential properties being fully used and improved upon. So if we kind of, let's start back maybe at the signage area. But as we talk about, oh, go ahead, Mary.
Jessup has his hand raised real quick before we move on.
All right.
Okay, go for it, Jessup. Sorry.
Oh, well, no, that's fine. And a lot of what I was going to say has been already mentioned, but usually when I'm thinking about first impression in the town, I try to figure out is, okay, when I'm sitting at each stoplight, what do I see? What are the wear points in that area when somebody's sitting there looking around within our community? You know, do they like what they see? Do they not like what they see? And so I'd like to see us focus on those points. I mean, we don't have a whole lot of stoplights in town, but, you know, at the bottom of the viaduct or sitting, you know, at the intersection of Spruce Street and the highway, you know, what facades need to be improved, what buildings might need to be updated, where could we put landscaping? Because I totally agree with what Richard said. There's definitely a softening that needs to take place in certain parts of town. And a lot of businesses have shown kind of what can be done with some simple facade improvements with creative signage, you know, like the Driftwood guitar is just fantastic. And I think, you know, and Bruce mentioned it, I think that building there on the east side, when you come into town, a mural like what Driftwood has behind it would be great in that space. And you could do something that kind of gives everybody a feel of the character of what's involved in the community. And then you could have kind of the waypoint signs that if they're sitting there looking at the mural and they see like, oh, I see something about Boot Hill, and then they look up and they see an arrow pointing towards Boot Hill, they now have kind of a visual reference with the signage in town that can draw them throughout the community rather than just seeing maybe a sign for the Petrified Wood Gallery or Front Street or downtown. And if you could give them a visualization right when they're sitting there and first coming into town, I think you could connect some of those dots and draw people further into the community.
Great, thank you, Jessup. And sorry I didn't see your hand raised, but glad you were able to share that. Anyone else have other ideas, dreams, and visions they'd like to share?
I have a question. This is Sue. Who is responsible for that when you're at the bottom of the viaduct, that land? Who is it that would keep that area free of weeds? Is that the city or the property owner?
Well, Sue, it's Bruce. Part of it is the property owner, and then part of it is the city. And we have tried to take better care of it this year. Of course, we haven't had the weeds because we haven't had the moisture, but it is now on our list. We didn't used to think about it, I guess, but now, yeah, we are going to try to take care of it better.
That's great. Thanks. I think I like Jessup's idea that I think you were saying that could be a map mural of what points of interest are in the area. that-
a map or just some sort of collage, kind of like what's on the back of Driftwood, of a lot of different things in the community where, you know,
Right.
they see kind of a picture of Boot Hill or maybe a picture of Front Street or, you know, a picture of the lake. And then as they see signage throughout town, it connects with what they had just seen. But I am not an artist, Sue, so I will defer to the creative minds on what is better.
I think that's a great idea. You could even have a picture of Driftwood there, just so they know that that place is available. But like I said, I think one of the most important is signage to the downtown. And I think that's very important. Thank you.
And that signage, so that's kind of one of the ones that have been maybe identified as sort of an easy one. But what would it take to get that, or kind of that easy, what would be needed to move that forward? So just brainstorming collectively, what would it take to get that signage, and what is needed to move that signage idea forward? Are there some, oh, go ahead, sorry.
Well, I just think everybody needs to understand that if you do anything on the viaduct, if you do anything on Highway 30, that's all state. So anything there, we have to get approved by the state before you can do anything. Now, once you get past Highway 30 and you get on A Street or, you know, Spruce Street and things like that, that's city. So then we can do more things like that. So I think it's just having some kind of a plan and a design on how to sign it better, and I'm sure that the council would look at all those things very positively.
Chris, do you think with all of the work that you've done up till now on this, are we at a point where we're ready to start having meetings and conversations about, okay, here's where we're at, let's start establishing this plan to take the next step forward?
Well, Mary, I shared that with you, so you've seen it, and you're familiar with the fact that we had goals. We considered many things, what it looks like now, what it could look like. We consulted with cost to figure out budgets. And I think we're at a point, I know that from, going back to 2011, that Visitors Committee had some funding and improvements set aside, or it was discussed back from over 10 years ago. So that could be something that the improvement fund from Visitors Committee could actually fund the wayfinding. But I think this is a great opportunity to start talking about this, because it can incorporate a whole bunch of things like what Sue was talking about, the alleyway murals. That can be done from, for example, the one that exists right now between Ben Franklin's and the boot store. We did that. Keep Keith County Beautiful did that. We hired a local teacher from the Ogallala Public Schools, and it was a grant from Sherwin-Williams. So it was something that didn't cost our city or county or anybody any money. So we can start looking for those kinds of things too. Other people have mentioned NRD type grants, community block development grants. So I think there's a lot of ways that we can not only fund it, but I think there's a lot of talent in this town that we could get people to, even people like Anderson Sign could actually be the sign maker. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to really create something relatively quickly, because a lot of the groundwork has already been done.
I agree with you.
I have one more thing. I think it's so important that we all work together, because we've got KCAD, we've got the chamber, we've got Keith County Beautiful. And I know there's some subcommittees there, but what I've seen over the years is that we all talk in groups and then it doesn't go forward. But I think if we, maybe a committee from every entity, a person from each entity would be a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue, and thank you, Chris, also for that. We are sort of running out of time, but today's meeting is being recorded. I've been taking notes and documenting the conversation. Lisa and Mary are also keeping track, and we will be summarizing today's conversation with the themes and information that we have heard, and we'll be sharing that out with you. But this has been really great conversation, and just like Sue said, you know, there's a lot of work being done in groups, and with the work of the Keith County Community Foundation Fund, KCAD, and the conversations that have really been having in Keith County since February is really to get everybody that's interested in these areas kind of brought up to speed, collaborate, share ideas, share energy around these topics that have been identified. So today's first impressions, earlier this week it was housing, and then early childhood development is the other area that's been discussed. So a lot of collaboration and discussion of ideas. Mary, I'm going to turn it over to you for just some of the local pieces of it.
As far as next steps go, you want me to share where we're at with that?
Yes.
We have our next first impressions discussion scheduled for October 28th. It's Wednesday. Same time, we're going to have a noon discussion. I think the next step, there's so many great things going on, right? And so many great ideas. And so we'll take notes and summarize where we're at, group some of these ideas into some themes. And when we meet next time, I think we're going to be able to move pretty quickly and establish what's our big easy. I think maybe we've established that today. A wayfinding project is a big easy thing for us as a community to move forward with. And for the Chamber's Tourism Committee, Chris and Carla, to lead that effort, if that's what this group decides. But we can talk about all of those things at our next meeting on the 28th and come up with a list of maybe our top 3 priorities for us to focus on moving forward. So yeah, that's where we're at.
So some of the themes that I was hearing today, it was around that art, it's around greenery and trees, wayfinding and signage, also buildings being fully utilized, whether that's commercial or even residential properties being improved. If you know, after we log off today, if there are additional ideas that you feel comfortable sharing with Mary or sending out an email to Mary or I, you can still include that in the conversation as we kind of group it into themes. But at our next meeting, it will be really kind of identifying, okay, what are those easy wins? Who wants to champion that easy win? But then also kind of thinking about, okay, what's realistic maybe on these other ideas and these other themes? What's realistic from a timeline perspective? So what could be done in 3 years? What could be done in that 5-year time frame? But really taking that next step with identifying that easy win to keep that momentum going with this area. Any questions from anyone or additional thoughts that you want to share before we let you go? Okay. Well, thank you all for your time and your energy and your passion and your ideas this afternoon. It's been fun and hopefully very informative for you, but also hopefully you're excited about kind of the discussions that came out of today to continue moving them forward.